Today is September 23, 2024. This is session number 29 of Discovering the Essence of Nonviolent Communication with Jim Manske, and I'll turn it to you, Jim.
Thank you. Thank you. It's good to be back. I'm glad to see you all here. I missed you last week. Believe me, I would have much preferred to be with you rather than what I was going through in Honolulu. I went over there for a test, and I haven't really thought of a adjective to describe how awful the test was. There was really no like anesthetic or anything, but the idea was they stuck a tube up my nose that then went around the corner and then down into my throat. Then I had to drink salt water, and then they took the tube back out, and they put another tube in that I had to keep in there for 24 hours. And it was excruciating. The metaphor that I came up with, it was like going to a dental hygienist, and the dental hygienist got confused and forgot that she was supposed to work on your mouth, and she was working on your nose instead. And it was just terrible. But it only lasted a few minutes, the painful part, but it was very squirmy for me. It gave me a lot of compassion for people who live with pain of an exquisite nature like that. Haven't gotten the results yet. So pending the results, if things go one way, it means I'll have a surgery next week, a week from today. And if things go another way, I won't. So, and I don't know yet. So I'll let you guys know through email about what's happening. So that's that. So thanks for listening.
So sorry, Jim, that you needed to go through that. Really sounds horrible, and I don't like that.
Yeah, I wouldn't wish it on anybody, Rena. I wouldn't wish it on. I don't have any enemies, but if I did, I wouldn't want even an enemy to go through this. It was, but I know there was a positive intention, and that's part of what helped. And I got really clear on a particular word in English, which is endurance. And I realized that endurance and enjoyment have the same beginning, en. And so it's like when we're enjoying something, we're in joy. And when we're enduring something, we're in something hard. And so it was hard. It was a hard day. And I'm glad to be back and feeling better. Yeah, and thanks, Corey. Corey was here. I'm glancing to see if he's still here. Corey covered for me last week. I heard some great feedback. If you would like to offer Corey feedback, it would be helpful for me, as well as Corey. I'm Corey's assessor, which is the role of the person that helps people to go through the certification journey. So Corey is in his pre-assessment right now. So any feedback you have of him or him would be very helpful. And you can give it to me, or you can give it directly to Corey. There's Corey's back. So we'll spend a little bit of time after the self-connection exercise doing that. Today's class is on cultivating vitality. So I changed the order of classes so I could do this class today. That does support me in my self-care as I get ready for what hopefully will be a surgery next week. So we'll be exploring how to cultivate self-awareness and self-care today. And let's start though with kind of a written self-connection exercise. That'll be a review of what you did last week. And we'll go through a little gratitude practice. It's also part of cultivating vitality. You don't have to write it down, but it's just so helpful to have a record. It'll help you to actually see the various steps, the observation, the need, and the feeling, and so forth. So first, think of something, maybe even today or yesterday, where you received a gift, where somebody did something that made your life more wonderful. And, and then write down the observation. Describe the gift that you received. It doesn't have to be a long story. It can be as simple as one sentence like, Corey covered for me at last week's practice group. This is wonderful because it gives us practice in making clear and crisp observations. Second step is, what need of yours was met when you received this gift? What need of yours was fed or met when you received this gift? Then you put those two pieces together like two ingredients of a salad or a sandwich. And you have the observation and the need. And as you connect to those, notice what feelings arise in your body right now, not back when you received the gift, but right now as you remember receiving the gift. And then you savor those feelings. Open your heart to actually experiencing what it feels like to have that experience of gratitude or appreciation or relief or whatever the feeling is for you. And imagine that you can magnify the sensations and emotions just a little bit more, just 5% more as you savor it. Notice where it is in your body that you feel this feeling. Feel free to amp it up one more time if you'd like, and just allow yourself to really feel the sensation and emotion of pleasure when a need is satisfied. and send out a wish that every human being on the planet have an experience like this, of having their need met, feeling the feeling that you're feeling. Imagine that you can give this feeling away as a gift. And notice that this is a gift that comes without cost, that you can continue to feel it even as you give it away. And then make another observation. What did you do that helped make it possible for you to receive this gift? So in my case, I asked Corey if he would be willing. I sent him a text or an email or something. And I asked him, told him what my situation was, invited him to participate with you all. And so it came from my request. My gratitude is direct, receiving this gift was directly related to my request. What did you do? And how do you imagine receiving this gift and whatever part you played in receiving the gift? How do you imagine this will affect your life from now on? What's the likely effect? And then just review what you wrote. Take a moment and review, read through it again, savor again. And Martha's going to open up small groups for us for 14 minutes plus one. So I think most groups will have 3 people in it. This gives everybody about 5 minutes to practice honesty, where you can share your story of gratitude if you would like, or share your experience of this practice, or something else that's alive in you to share. And for about 10 minutes, you'll each have the opportunity to listen. And we'll see you back here in about 15 minutes. This is the chance that we have to share with a large group. Corey is here. I haven't seen you, Corey, but are you here and able to hear us in case anybody wants to express some gratitude to you?
I am here. Yes, Jim.
All right. For those of you who were here last week, Corey was our host and facilitator. And as I mentioned earlier in the call, he's a certification candidate and he's in this pre-assessment process. So if you have any feedback that might be helpful for Corey about what happened last week, or if you want to share anything about what's happened so far today, this would be the time to express it. So we'll start with Tanya. Go ahead, Tanya.
So Corey, I'll share with you what I shared with Jim. I thoroughly enjoyed our group last week. I love the way you presented the material. I think we had fun and we had learning, and I really love your spirituality, your NVC spirituality. I really appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you, Tanya.
Allison?
Well, I'm grateful to have this moment to share my experience with you, Corey. Last week was, for me, quite exceptional. I've been playing the NVC for like 20 years and then some. And I just found your presence so warm and genuine and trustworthy. And I said earlier, before you joined this evening, that there was a part of me that was like between 2 and 4 years old, that the safety I felt and the kindness and the nurturing just from your natural way of being, it seemed to me. I thought, maybe, would you be my daddy? Just such a sense of trust and safety I felt with your natural kindness and your presence, your warmth, and you're really being there with us is how I felt. You were really, really there, and it was such a unusual gift of caring. And so I just wanted to say thank you. It meant a lot to me.
Thank you, Allison. I take that to heart. Thank you.
Sherry?
Okay, Corey. I noticed because I can hear, right now I look at your photo and I heard it seems you are driving. So please be careful. What I have deep impression, 2 words. One is flow. When you led last week on the gratitude, I deeply remember when the story we present, for example, I present, and then you stay there for some moment. Let my side, let the community side expand. For me, that pause is very impressive. The second word is human flavor. I deeply remember you present your story, you with your 2 kids, touching, and there are no trainer, facilitator. I just realized there we are all human beings. We share those soft gender part. I deeply like all of those. Very natural. I complete.
Thanks, Sherry. And then we'll go to
Sherry.
Fumiko. And by the way, Jaya is also here. Jaya covered for me a couple of weeks ago. And she's also in her pre-assessment process. And if you have any recollections or reflections about Jaya's session, I'm sure that would be meaningful to both of us as well. So if anybody wants to share anything about that, please do. Go ahead, Fumiko.
Yes, Corey, I want to thank you for the meditation, which I really enjoy. And I want to share the meaning what he had for me. During the meditation, I felt really equanimity that I haven't had for quite a long time. And then after the session, couple hours, I started feeling sore throat. And in the evening, I had skyrocketed fever. And a couple days ago, when I realized I slept through 16 hours, so my body really needed rest. But because it's only me that I'm taking care of my parents, I think I'm usually put myself in tension that I cannot be fragile. And so much stress accumulated, but through the meditation, I think I connected to my body and really what it wanted. So I don't know if true or not, but that's how I interpreted. So thank you for the meditation, which allowed me to connect to my voice, my body voice, what it was really wanted, the rest, I think. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Fumiko. Hope you're feeling better now. And Brianna?
Hi there. Something we shared in our group, or that I shared, was that it's been really fun having Corey and Jaya both coming on, especially seeing some of the things and hearing some of the things you've taught Jim, and then their own personal, takes and personality. It's like making a fun design imprint, of like, oh, I hear some Jim, oh, I hear some Jaya, I hear Corey. And it was fun with Jaya, seeing the matrix and her teaching with it. I really enjoyed it. And with Corey, I noticed in the beginning, this was me coming into class, I wanted to speed up more, wanted to go faster. I felt myself being a little impatient, and sitting with that and then slowing down to the pace of class was impactful, and has carried into this whole week. A lot of inspiration with that roses and thorn practice, Corey. I'm really grateful for it, not just for myself. Brought it into photography and shared it also in an empathy session with a friend going through something really hard. And it was really impactful for her to hear that practice. And I just wanted to say thank you. Thanks you very much.
Thanks, Brianna. I love your point about how each trainer brings whatever they've learned from whatever trainers, and then they integrate it, and then it comes out as their own direct experience of NVC. And that was Marshall's advice, by the way. Marshall really encouraged us, at least encouraged me, to teach from my own experience. Don't try to teach Marshall Rosenberg's experience, because I haven't had that, but rather to practice NVC and then to speak from that practice. And that's been good advice for me. So I encourage all of you to do that. Umesh?
Yeah, so I remember from Jaya's session, once he brought her own example, and she brought the example that she was going right in the session. And that was very connecting to me, being present to whatever is happening right now and putting that into a session. Okay, I have tried that, in one session, like a week back, okay, when I was in the group practice, and it's really, really helpful. Okay, so I was able to connect a lot, okay, over there. Okay, it made it alive. And I was able, later when I practice this, I realized it brings a different level of experience, okay, altogether. Thanks.
Thanks, Umesh. Anybody else have feedback for Jaya or Corey? or me, or Jori for that matter, or NVC Academy. Go ahead, Corey, you want to say anything?
I was just really enjoying the feedback. Thank you for inviting me here today in hopes of getting some feedback. And it was sort of like the exercise that you invited us to at the beginning here. It was an overflow of how I contributed last week. And it was just really beautiful to take in one person's comment followed by another person and another person. And there was a part of me that's like, oh, wow, this is getting too big. And then I was just slowed down and I just took it all in. And it was extraordinary to experience. So thank you all for the feedback. And thank you again, Jim, for trusting in me.
Thank you for supporting Jori and me in being here, Corey. Jaya?
I'm feeling a little sad that I'm eating late into Corey's time because I really wanted this sharing to be about Corey fully. And yet I'd made a request to Jim that, did you forget me? What about my feedback? And I would have loved it maybe last week or when it was easier for you to recall how the session was. But I'm immensely grateful that some of you remembered what I did. And that supports me in my learning and my desire to show up as a trainer. And so I'm so grateful to this platform and for the opportunity that Jim gave me to come and hold space for him. So deep gratitude to all of you too. Thank you.
Thanks, Jaya. Very grateful for both of you covering me, and as well as all the other trainers that have supported me and Jori here at NVC Academy, and when we were doing this on our own. It's just this spirit of compassionate giving is very meaningful to me. This part of being a community. That's one of the best things about being a trainer in this community is I have a family. I have a family not only of trainers, but a family of participants. I don't know anybody as lucky as me that has a family as big as I do, an extended family. I feel like I could go anywhere in the world and connect with people that have been touched by NVC, and we could have a meal together or place to stay or whatever. So I appreciate that very, very much. Anything else for anybody before we
So
move on?
Jim, how did you contribute to that, receiving those gifts?
You know what? It's really the benefit for me of making requests. I have really learned so much about being vulnerable. Making a request is really vulnerable. And so being willing to make a request, being willing to hear a no, like when I asked both Corey and Jaya if they could cover for me, I told them both I had other options. They just happened to be at the top of my list. And both of them were able to say yes. But it's about it's really about living this practice of making requests and being open to outcome and being present. That has helped me the most. Thanks for asking. And that helps with my cultivating of vitality, which is our lesson for today.
Jim.
Yeah.
Jim, this is Jeannie, and I would raise my hand, but I'm too slow, I guess.
Okay, go ahead, Jeannie.
Okay.
Thanks for
I'm trying to turn my camera on. You see how bad I am at this?
There you go.
I just want to say that, yes, I buy everything you're saying about the vulnerability and the gift of requests and how important it is for us to get really good at that, and our lives will get more wonderful, and so will everybody else's all around us. Okay, I believe that. But when you're talking about how you have this huge family, you haven't asked each and every one of us. I think that the way you dwell in compassion and your like huge skill at empathy opens our hearts to you. So there's that too. I just wanted to say that.
Thank you, Jeannie. Thank you. Well, if you guys want a request, here comes one. We're raising money for NVC Academy through this practice group. And typically during the year of practice groups, we raise around between $5,000 and $10,000 for various projects. This year, we have not done that. We have not raised very much money through this practice group. And so just to keep it sustainable costs about $100 a week. And so we have received about $100 for the year so far for this practice group. So we got some catching up to do. So Marta will put a link either now or at the end of the call for you to be able to make a donation to NVC Academy and express your gratitude. If there's 50 people here, typically in a week, that's $2 a person for a practice group. Back when I was more entrepreneurial in my NVC and we did practice groups, we would get $20 per person per session. And so I think it's pretty high value for NVC Academy to offer this. And I love that they take the money that they get from this training and they give it right back away to people who could not otherwise afford NVC Academy training, especially people in the global majority, people that live in the global South. And so any gift that you can feel joyful about giving, whether it's a one-time gift of $500 or $2 a week or whatever, that would bring you the joy of a child feeding a hungry duck, that would be wonderful for me to savor. And so anyway, enough about that. But I'm talking to each and every one of you now, making this request. Couldn't do it without you. Okay. Let's go back to the class, Cultivating Vitality. So those of you who've been here before know we're going through the matrix, which is this system of 28 different NVC-based skills. And we're in the complex end of the matrix now, where we're utilizing all the preliminary skills and combining them in different ways in order to make life more wonderful for ourselves and others. Cultivating vitality means to tune into yourself first, to use self-empathy, to monitor your own level of well-being from moment to moment and care for that well-being. If you need rest, rest. I've learned so much about this in the last couple of months as I have gone through this healing crisis. And I've been, I'm not meeting my needs for contribution in many ways and so forth, but I am doing my best to cultivate my vitality, and it's coming from this desire to be able to hang in there and do this for another 20 years or so. And so it starts with self-connection, and then following the inner request that comes from that to take steps to care for myself, and not at the cost of other people in my system, like Jori or the pet or my daughter or other people, but in a balanced way, with the connection to why I would be cultivating this vitality in the first place, which is to serve life. Here's the pathway. I'll just be quiet while you look through that. Save my voice for a moment.
Excuse me, Jim, I don't see the slides.
Really? Let's try it again. How about now?
Yes, got it.
Good. Thanks for letting me know. highlight for me of this particular matrix is under the capable column, connected to needs as resources. So when I remember that my needs are not a burden, they are resources, and then it really helps me to be resourceful. Remember Robert Gonzalez, who was my assessor and and a wonderful NVC trainer. He said, I'm going to paraphrase. I want to remember that my needs are like flowers on the table, not a burden for anybody. So my needs are a gift. And when I take the energy and the self-love and in order to connect to my needs and then follow through and feed them, then it allows me to contribute to life. It gives me energy, gives me vitality, this liveliness and abundance. NVC is the transition from scarcity to abundance. It gives us durability. So not only do we enjoy it, but we endure. We endure what is going on in our lives that might be painful, because life has pain for every single one of us. And we can endure it as we build the resources. It also connects us to the spirituality of NVC, the energy of Marshall called needs, beloved divine energy. We have needs. Rocks don't have needs. It's nothing, as far as we can tell, it's nothing. You can't empathize with a rock, but you can empathize with a snake or a plant or a mushroom or a person, because you can imagine what it's like to be that. We share this non-material energy. So we're going to touch on 5 different aspects for cultivating vitality today. The original format was PERMA, P-E-R-M-A, that I got from Martin Seligman, who wrote a book called Flourish, that was a gift for me to read about 10 or 15 years ago. And it changed my experience of NVC because it made the palette bigger than just gratitude. And Martin's book, Flourish, is highly recommended. So here are the various parts of the PERMA model, which I called REMAP, because I think it's part of what we're doing with NVC is we're building a new map of how to live our lives in alignment with abundance rather than scarcity, in alignment with interdependence rather than dependence or independence. So first is relationships. According to Dr. Seligman and dozens of other teachers, relationships are the key for us to have well-being. It's not a matter of the quantity of relationships. It's a matter of the quality of relationships. Cultivating honesty and empathy in relationships that matter. Engagement. Finding something that engages you, something that that is a place where you can flow your life energy. Something that has meaning for you, something that you really enjoy, so that you have a sense of accomplishment, and not just once, but noticing over and over again the small little victories of accomplishment and experiencing the feelings that come with that. And this all relates to positivity. Positivity sounds kind of like a judgmental word, but in this case, if you want an NVC definition of positivity, it's life-enriching emotions or life-enhancing emotions, or the emotions that dissolve a feeling of separateness. So we're going to move into some practice. And we're going to have a little exploration about relationship first. Remembering that human beings love to connect. NVC is all about developing skills to deepen our capability around connection, whether it's a moment of conflict or a moment of celebration. When we connect, we can experience a sense of pleasure. And so here's the practice. I'll put this into the chat as well. So this would be best to do in pairs. So Marta will reorganize the groups to do this in pairs so that everybody has plenty of time to practice. This will be about a 20-minute practice. And you'll take turns. After about 10 minutes, you'll switch. But there's this idea that I learned from a psychologist named John Gottman, and that's a bid for connection. And we make these bids all the time in our relationships. And sometimes we answer the bid, and sometimes we don't answer the bid. And it's not important that you answer every single bid for connection, but if you want your relationships to be sustainable, according to Gottman's research, you need to say yes about 80% of the time. You need to be able to find ways to answer the bid for connection, to say yes, and then to use these opportunities to connect. What would a bid for connection look like? Oh, you're sitting at breakfast with your sweetheart, and maybe you're looking at your iPhones. You know, that's the thing people do now at breakfast. Or you're looking at the newspaper or magazine, or maybe even you're just looking outdoors at you're in a cafe and you're just watching what's happening outside. And one of you says to the other, "Wow, look at that." That's a bid for connection. And that's the opportunity then for the person who's the listener to say, "Oh, what are you responding to?" And they say, "Well, I just read in the newspaper that they've discovered how to make, I don't know, electric vehicle batteries last for 3,000 hours now instead of just for a few hours." "Oh, really? Wow, who said, where'd you read that?" And so you're basically hearing a little bit of data from the other person, taking it in, allowing your own curiosity to grow, and then asking questions and inviting the explorer, or the person expressing honesty, to go deeper into why that's exciting for them, why they're interested in this particular topic. When you're the listener, this is a chance to cultivate an experience of empathy, to listen not only to the content of what the person is talking about, but also to connect to what needs do you imagine are alive in the person. So if I'm the one talking about the EV batteries, and Jori says something like, "Oh, I guess this is exciting for you because sustainability and figuring out how to deal with climate change is important to you. Is that right?" "Yeah, it is, you know." "Well, how do you think this is going to help?" And so forth. So you use your empathic guesses to deepen the conversation. So this is a chance to practice for about 10 minutes each. So the speaker will pick one thing to talk about and then open up the conversation. And the listener will answer the bid for connection with a yes. So this can be challenging. My dad loved to talk about old cars. That was about the least interesting thing that I could ever think of, was talking about old cars. But I learned about this bid for connection when he was still alive, and it really deepened my sense of connection with Dad is I got curious about why he was excited about a new radio or whatever it was that he was working on in his old cars. So use your empathy to deepen your sense of connection. Thank you.
It was really awesome. And it was, I think from what my partner and I were both saying to one another, we could really feel the connection deeply and understand. We were both talking about pain, and we could really understand each other's pain and the work that we're doing to, heal. So that was beautiful. Thank you.
Sounds very affirming, and like it really had a sense of mutual empathy.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for sharing. Somebody else? I'll wait about 5 more seconds, then we'll go ahead, Juliana. Yay, go ahead.
Just had such a good feeling. I did join a little late, but just being here and being in this community and just being with you, Jim, and hearing your voice and hearing my partner's voice in my group, it was so calming and reinforcing and energizing for me and calming for me. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for this space, Jim, and all of you here. Yeah.
You're welcome. Thank you. Anybody waiting to go last, or shall we move on? Okay, time flies. I'm trying to cram a whole weekend workshop into 2 hours here today, so we will not get to everything, I don't think, that I would like to do, but we'll see what happens. So let's see here. Let me go back to sharing. We'll do the next exercise. The E in REMAP stands for engagement. And this is related to the work of one of the very first positive psychologists, Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. Yeah, that's a tough one. Takes a lot of practice to say Mihai's name. Mihai died just about a year ago, maybe 2 years. And but he wrote a book called Flow. And he did a lot of early research on the flow state. And what flow basically means is these moments when you're fully immersed in something. You lose your sense of self because you're basically at one with whatever activity, whether it's gardening or giving empathy or taking a walk or exercise or whatever. But there's this energized focus with full involvement. And often this occurs when we are expressing our love. So that's the next practice, is we're gonna go back to the pairs. This group will be shorter, only about 4 minutes each. So it'll be a total of 8 minutes. This time, tell a story about when you contributed from compassion without expectation of receiving anything in return. So what compassion means in this context is you hear about someone's pain, and it may begin with empathy. You might understand what their needs are. You might understand what their feelings are, but then something moves in you, and you contact your love. You contact your desire to fulfill your need for love by taking action to support the other person's needs. So just take about 30 seconds to think about a time when you acted from compassion. It could be something as simple as noticing a houseless person on the side of the road and stopping to talk to them and getting to know them a little bit, maybe giving them some food or whatever. Could be something with a neighbor or a person in your neighborhood or a family member where you hear their pain, you're moved by what you hear, and from your empathy, you're moved to act with compassion. Again, when you're the empath, you'll be listening with empathy, paying mostly attention to needs, the needs that were met for the person sharing their experience, during their experience. And again, you can follow your intuition about when to ask questions. Yeah, Tanya.
So my partner and I were talking about about being kinder to other people, and just the remark about being kind even when I'm stressed. It's easier to be kind when I'm relaxed and I feel connected to my compassionate nature and everything's cool. But when I'm stressed, it's a lot harder to do that. So that's kind of, we were talking about that effort to do it even when we're stressed.
Yeah. Thank you for the empathy. That really matches my experience lately. I'm just not wired up in the way that I'd like to be. I just have a little less patience, a little less energy to hold the complexity of my life. Umesh, and then Allison.
So I was with Arudima, okay, and on the question of giving without expecting anything, okay, usually what comes to my mind is like the big ones, okay, that leaves an impression for a long time. But then she shared a small incident, okay, which is something, okay, that we don't even notice. Okay. And that was pretty wonderful. Okay. To know and see, okay, these small acts, okay, is what matters a lot. Okay, and gives you that everyday little boost.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, rather than like big events, big sacrifice, big things, okay, and which can sustain for years. Okay, that's what we can do. But the small ones, okay, is something that I keep on missing out.
Yes, thank you. I'm really glad you mentioned that. That's one of the most important things about these life-affirming emotions is that we can get so much benefit from what Barbara Fredrickson, another positive psychologist, called micro moments. So looking for micro moments of these experiences, like these, like sometimes, like this morning, I was sitting out on the front porch and a butterfly flew by. And I just watched the butterfly, and it only lasted 2 seconds, but it was just me and that butterfly, and it generated joy for me. And it helped to sustain me for whatever came next. So look for micro moments of love, the feeling of love, micro moments of gratitude, micro moments of awe, and so forth. Allison?
My partner in the connection, we shared so deeply the profound end of life story with someone extremely dear to her, and the clarity of her sharing how she just stepped in. There wasn't even a decision. it was from what she was, she just stepped in to the need of the other person with such clarity and such presence, and no drama, no emotional sacrifice, none of this, just this pure, I'm stepping in to what is needed. And wow, so beautiful and
Inspiring.
yes, and what a steady, the quality and the shapes that love takes. And it kind of flashed me back on one of my favorite moments, one of my many favorite moments from Corey, about the rose and the thorns. It is such a powerful union that the joy of making that kind of deep connection, it's possible to realize it doesn't matter if it's euphoric or hellacious, you know? So thank you.
Thank you, Alice. Don? Go ahead, Don.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Yes, I really, Beth was a full-time graduate student this summer at University of British Columbia in Vancouver. And a friend said, why don't you just go up there and help her move out of the dorm? And it was a heavy, rainy day. The traffic was thick, but I wasn't expecting anything in return. And that just came to mind in this example of a giving and a kind thing and a major event and flowing. You mentioned that flow thing, Jim, where I guess you just so much get into it that it's flowing. I'm looking for a metaphor.
Yeah.
And that was a tremendous event. And then we went and visited the friend in Vancouver who had made that suggestion. Why don't you just pick Beth up at the dorm? Don't ask her, just do it.
Sweet.
And that was an incredible, flowing, positive, contributing, kind experience.
And isn't it wonderful to tell the story too, to have someone to be with you to celebrate it? And now in this case, to have 44 people with you to celebrate it again.
Oh, God. And it's a beautiful, incredible campus. I'll throw that in too.
Yeah, lots of beauty.
Yeah. Thank you. Yay.
Yeah, indeed. Thank you. We're going to run out of time before we do the rest of the practices, so I'll just buzz through them. These practices will be in the classroom. Marta will put them into the classroom for you. But the M in remap stands for meaning. And from an NVC point of view, I like to think of this as the actions that we take, which are basically our expressions of love, are also linked to the vision and mission that we have. Vision being the world that we imagine would be our particular version of the world we want to live in. And our mission being what role we want to play in bringing that world about. So the way to inspire the sense of meaning and purpose is to check, are the actions that you're taking aligned with your vision and mission? So that's what the M stands for. And there'll be a practice that you can do about that with an empathy buddy, hopefully. Now, here's something I don't think we're very good at in our culture, is to celebrate accomplishment. We're so busy dancing off to the next goal on our to-do list that we don't always take the time to savor and celebrate what we just did. And so when we do, it generates the experience of pride of accomplishment. And this can be very nurturing for ourselves. It's a particular kind of a gratitude practice where the gratitude is focused on the actions that you have taken to serve life, the needs that you have contributed to. And the last is the P in in REMAP is positive emotion or life-affirming emotions. Now, these emotions naturally flow when we contribute to life and when we get our needs satisfied. And so we don't have to try to make it happen. We just focus on acting from love, and then we will automatically start to feel these emotions. And you can also start generating these emotions whenever you would like. So here's a list of 10 that you can play with that we've touched on some of them today. There's a little mnemonic device, a memory device, aha, jig, lips. Jori came up with that to help remember these 10 emotions. The first is amusement. So you know how important it is to tell a joke or to hear a joke. It can help generate joy, but just the experience of amusement, that lighthearted feeling of being with the unexpected. Amusement usually emerges from surprise. Hope is the experience that tomorrow will be better than today, and there's something I can do about it. I can contribute to building the world that I want to live in. So that's what inspires hope. Awe is the second A. There's a good book about awe that just came out. I don't have the title in front of me, but look for experiences of awe. My butterfly experience this morning was a moment of awe. We live in Haiku, Maui, so we have some of the darkest skies on the planet when there's no moon. And so it's easy to see about 20,000 stars. And if that doesn't stimulate awe, then just imagine what's behind the 20,000 stars is millions, billions of more stars and galaxies. Joy, probably don't need to say much about joy, but look for these micro moments of joy. The sound of a baby's laughter, noticing someone, including yourself, do an act of kindness, as someone mentioned. Inspiration, looking for things that inspire you. Maybe it's Rumi poetry or another poet. Maybe it's doing your own writing. Maybe it's watercolors or some other kind of painting or artwork. Maybe it's just a walk in nature. What inspires you? And do more of that. Generate that experience of inspiration. Gratitude, we did a whole week on that last week. Love, we touched on love today. This is love as the feeling, not love as the need or love as the action. But these, again, it's about micro moments. Jori and I have this long-running joke inspired by Marshall. She'll come up to me and she'll say, "Jim, do you love me?" And I'll say, "When?" And because this feeling of love comes and goes, just like all feelings. And so to stay on the alert for these moments of love and enjoy them and cultivate more of them. Interest, we played with that today in the bid for connection exercise. To be interested in something in life and to share that interest with others and to be interested in what they're interested in if you want to build connection. Pride of accomplishment, we just touched on that briefly, how important it is to slow down and savor what you've done that makes life more wonderful for yourself or others. And finally, the last one is the S for serenity. What helps you to calm your mind? Is it meditation? Is it walking meditation, a mindful meal? I've noticed that since I've developed this thing with my voice, I'm not talking so much. And when I'm not talking as much, my mind has actually become quieter. And so I'm experiencing probably more serenity than I've ever experienced in my life, even though I'm in the middle of this kind of medical thing that's going on. So those are the 10 emotions. Barbara Fredrickson is a source of this list of 10, and her book is called Positivity. If you want to go deeper. All right, so we're almost at the end here. I'd love to hear a couple of people. What are you taking away? What are you taking away from this class on cultivating vitality? How do you imagine you will cultivate vitality in the coming week based on something that you learned here today or you reminded yourself of? How will you cultivate vitality from now on? And please raise your hand if you'd be willing to share.
I'll share.
Okay, go ahead.
I really liked what you said about love when Joy would ask you something about love and you would respond with when, and that love is like a feeling, it comes and it goes. So I hold myself to this like, well, I mean, I'm a recovering perfectionist. I don't know. But just to imagine that applied to love, it's just very open-hearted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks. Joya?
Yeah, so Purva has started the third round of life affirming emotions that you had taught us to journal, and Aha Jiglips is very much part of it. So I'm hoping to spend the next, and we are doing one emotion a day this time. Earlier, we were doing 3 of them a day. And so we are going to be spending the next 90 days practicing this. I think it really brings in so much of shift when we stay with these emotions. So positive emotions will be what I'll be practicing. Thank you.
Thank you, Joya. And I'm so inspired that you created a little practice group to focus on cultivating vitality in that way.
Purva is doing this. Jim, Purva has started this. This is part of her project. So this is the third time round we are doing this.
Wonderful.
Under her. Thank you.
Thank you. Sherry?
First, my gratitude for Jim today for this subject of vitality. I even checked about translation because vitality, and then I say, okay, energize, alive in energy. So today it's an amazing day because yesterday there were another group, we start to talk about sex energy. And then this morning, when I list out from body, mind, heart, spirit, community, I still find out there are so many pieces of small judgment. It's a hidden deep corner. For example, if I don't change my habit, my living habit, I think it's only diversity means vitality. And then I know, come on, no. Change or no change, it's nothing. I see today more and more, my part may more vital or blooming.
Nice. Oh.
So thanks for today.
Thanks for sharing your takeaway, Sherry. And we'll finish with Barbara.
I just want to thank you for this. This is my first experience with nonviolent communication. And what sticks out to me is this one of interest, because I'm more interested in myself than connecting the interest of the other person. And now I have some tools to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. And thanks for coming and joining us. I'm really glad that you found us and that you came here to play today. What a wonderful first class. I mean, it's so different than my first class, which was all about conflict. So I'm really glad that you came today for this expression of around Cultivating Vitality. Okay, so I've opened up the after party. The after party is just an opportunity if you don't feel done yet and you want to talk more about what you learned today and just hang out, you can go to the after party. Marta will put it into the chat. And also, I'll ask one more time for your financial contributions to help keep this class going. And I'm not sure whether I'll see you next week or whether you'll get the opportunity for a guest trainer. I will hear more from my surgeon a little bit later in the week after he gets these test results back. And so we'll find out what happens. And I'll stay in touch with Marta and she can let you guys know what's going on. All right. I'm so glad you came today. It's very nurturing for me. I entered the flow state. Whenever I do these classes, it's a super flow for me to do this work. And so thank you for giving me this opportunity to contribute to you. Jori sends her love. She's recovering from a little infection, but she's doing okay, much better now than she was this morning. So she sends her love, and please feel free to reach out to her and me during this time of recovery. And I'll see you guys next time, whenever that is. Aloha, everybody. Bye-bye.